Just because somebody says a gun is a meta doesn't mean that it is a meta, and also doesn't mean it's going to be the best tactical choice. Just because it does a lot of damage doesn't mean it's going to have the best advantage over another player in speed killing. It might do a lot of damage to single targets, but when it comes to maneuverability, it just can't maneuver around adds and slay as hard as some other weapons, and that's why I never use metas. A meta to me may not be a meta to somebody else, and that's what we're going to be talking about in today's video. 5 different build options, and I put them all to the test versus around 150 different players through last week's LFG and the Master Ordeal, and a lot of the questions that I got asked was, how the hell are you hitting 400 to 500 kill numbers when I was slaying all these damn matches? And that's what we're going to be talking about today. 4 out of 5 of these builds are going to be subclass neutral. The reason they're subclass neutral is because with the Grandmaster difficulty coming out, I thought it'd be a great idea to go ahead and prep in advance to make these subclass neutral, since we don't know what the new modifiers are going to be or what kind of enemies we're going to be facing in the new champions, if there are going to be any. But we are going to be talking mainly about Devour, a subclass that I normally don't rely on in the past but have been messing around with lately and crushing with it. The reason that I didn't make 5 different videos for all 5 of these different builds is because they all share one similar quality. They all have 2x firepower, quick charge, and protective light, which in my opinion is the best Dawn mod armor combination you can have on a run and gun Slayer build. Let's talk about these mods now. If you haven't unlocked the power of wielding a fusion rifle and fully understand the kind of tactical advantage and strategies that you can do with the fusion rifle that you can't do with other weapons, I feel bad for you, because they are the ultimate run and gun weapon to have for any ad slayer in all of Destiny 2 PvE, and by having quick charge, you're guaranteed to always be charged with light. To go with this, I always recommend using the firepower, but not just one firepower. One is okay, but when you do a ×2, that's where the magic really happens, especially with the Devour subclass and getting your grenades back. Every time you're charged with light and throw your grenade, it's going to take 10.5 seconds off. And when we combine this with Devour, which is what you're going to see right here, that first initial Devour pull is going to immediately take 10.5 seconds off by having 2 firepower on. This seems to be the same no matter what your grenade tier is. So 1 is 5 seconds, 2 is 5.5 seconds, and you'll see when we pull Devour, plus getting the charge with light, which if you're using a weapon such as Telesto or Epicurean or any type of fusion rifle, it's always going to be easy to get charged with light. By having this on, Devour takes 6.5 seconds off, Firepower takes 10.5, 3 kills equals 19.5 seconds off, plus the 10.5 seconds off, which is 30 seconds, and then the time in between basically means 3 to 4 kills, you'll have your grenade all the way back. Now let's talk about one of the Ristopheles run and gun metas, the Epicurean, with either fluted barrel for more versatility when up close sweeping shots, or small bore, which gives you a balance of both up close and range and a good sweep. Always ionized battery when you have a Demolitionist fusion rifle. The reason is because you're never going to reload it anyways, because Demolitionist does that for you, so you might as well get those 8 rounds to have plenty of firepower coming out. And an amazing first perk to get with it would be Under Pressure. The reason that I say Under Pressure is because since you're having to use ionized battery to get those 8 shots out, that sacrifices you being able to use something like Projection Fuse or Particle Repeater, and Under Pressure pretty much acts as both of those when you're halfway through the magazine of those 8 rounds. Under Pressure solves any kind of inaccuracy perks that Epicurean is known to have, especially at range or when sweeping it. It solves all those issues. Also go with the Handling Masterwork, which gives you a faster pace. If you didn't know what handling does on a fusion rifle, when you charge it and sway the weapon, the higher the handling, the faster that weapon sways, and the more smooth and balanced that it is when going target to target. It allows you to rush more faster and have more control of your weapon in fast-paced combat. Also, always an Icarus grip on fusion rifles because of the lingering effect it has when you're doing short hop bunny shots that we're going to be talking about later, or completely in the air shots. It keeps all the bolts perfectly together, even shortly after you land or when you're in the air. So it's a lot of tactical advantage you can have just from Icarus grip. It's actually procced almost all the time in fast-paced combat, but like I said, we'll go over more of that later. Let's talk about the charge rates when you mix in Firepower ×2, Demolitionist, and Devour at the same time, and you'll see that it only takes 2 fusion rifle kills to fully charge my grenade when I have those perks proccing. However, sometimes it can take 3. That all depends on if you got a grenade kill mixed with 1 fusion rifle kill, then it would take another fusion rifle kill to get the grenade back. So situations can change depending on how combat is going, but if you have a ton of ads lined up, every 2 kills that you get with the Epicurean, with Demolitionist, or any Demolitionist weapon is going to give your grenade back. You have Devour taking 6.5 seconds off, Firepower taking 10.5 off, Demolition taking 7.5 seconds off, so 2 kills equals 28 seconds, plus the 10.5 seconds from Firepower, which is 38.5 seconds, and at a tier 9 grenade, that's 37 seconds for stock charge time, so you only need 3 kills on average. Now let's talk about the final perk, the Protective Light perk, and all the bonds in this video are going to have Special Finisher, Better Already, or a variation of a Discipline mod or a Mobility mod, but they all will have Protective Light and all those perks on every one of these builds. The reason why you just need one Protective Light is because we're using the Devour perk. Now let's hop into some quick gameplay. I'll show you a few examples of how this plays out. The purpose of Protective Light is if you ever do get your shield busted, without getting to heal yourself, you still have an open window to still get your health back while you have that ton of resilience going on for around 4 to 5 seconds. So even though Devour is an awesome perk to have, when you're in run and gun combat and playing at max speeds and most aggressive, you're going to get your shield busted even when you do have Devour on, so it gives you that little bit of a second to still heal yourself or to still have time to proc Devour again, and to also go with your Demolitionist Epicurean. Watch the situation how it plays out. Sometimes you'll get into punch-in matches with ads, such as right here. He's going to bust my shield, but I have Devour procced, and now I have the 4 seconds of resilience, which is going to help me to take a little bit more extra damage while I'm jumping across right here, which is a complete shit storm. But luckily that grenade killed somebody. Now I have Demolitionist going, have a ton of grenades coming out. I'm going to throw in those grenades out. I still have the Demolitionist and Devour proccing both simultaneously. My grenade's back again. Now watch my health meter as I barrel through all these ads, and this is another reason that I only use 700 and 740 charge fusion rifles when it comes to master tier activities, because I've had a ton of experience doing speed killing in this, and if you have above a 740, the time to charge is just too long and can lead to death majority of the time, especially the handling that higher charge fusions don't have. I know from the experience of playing with high charge fusion rifles and run and gun activity, if you're ever against me in a speed kill challenge and you're using even a 780 with accelerated coils and a charge time masterwork on some kind of fusion rifle that normally isn't 860, I will still outslay that from start to finish because of the lack of handling you're going to have, the lack of pace you're going to be having, and that slow charge time that I'm not going to be having to deal with when it comes from ad to ad pacing. And I know a few of you are probably thinking, God, the arrogance of this dude, but I'm just telling you my experience and the truth of the experience and what limitations other players have had racing against me for many years in thousands of different matches. I always see their limitations. I even see my own limitations when I play with the weapon, and it's because of the balancing that it has in the game. It's going to be high damage, so it's not going to have the same agility of a 700 or a 740 because of that balance. It's only going to be meant for those single one-hit targets, and every time somebody uses a loaded question or a Wizen's Rebuke, the exception is Jotun, but other than that, if you're using any of those other fusion rifles, you're just going to get outslayed using those, and that's just the fact of the game, not because it's my opinion, but because of the data of that weapon and what it can do and what it can't do. And that's all the things that you have to calculate in Destiny speed killing. All the data that goes into it, the numbers, the ad-to-ad movement, the building, the recharge rates. There's just so much stuff you have to think about that are going to let you do the certain strategies that you need to gain advantages, to gain times, to gain more ads downed. There's just so much stuff that I could just talk about for hours and hours, but we only have so much time. So let's get back on the topic. We're going to jump more about this fusion rifle later, why I do like the 700 and 740s, especially when it comes to special finisher, but we'll get into more of that later. Let's hop into our first exotic build, the Transversive Steps. There's a ton of players that sleep on this exotic, but the cool thing about it is if you're already a fast speed killer and you're racing from point A to point B, from area to area after you've cleaned ads and you're heading off to the next area, so if you're already a fast killer, you can get there and start doing work faster than somebody else. Now watch this situation play out. I pull my rocket out, it's not loaded, so that's going to force me out of my grenade, because when I do speed killing, I don't stop for anything, I just deal with the situation. So now my grenade is gone, and I have no Devour. The perk of Transversive Steps is it reloads your weapons when you sprint, and that's exactly what it's about to do right here. It reloads the rocket, and I only have a brief window to do this strategy that I'm doing before the champion will melt me. So I have to get over there extremely quick, but the speed of Transversives helps me. I drop my Rift, which I have to because my strategy got messed up, so it forces me out of my Rift. And people don't think about this, but every time I pull the fusion to charge it, my mobility is going to register towards that. So when I'm hopping and doing those short hops from target to target, the higher my mobility, the more ground that I cover to keep slaying forward as I'm crushing through the area. We'll go back to more of that short hop fusion talk, but right now we're going to talk about this situation because this is something that Transversives can help in, even though it's one of those 1% situations. But I do an LFG, the guy has Unstoppable, but I guess he doesn't know how to proc it, so now we're getting chased around by 2 champions, and the speed from Transversive Steps is going to keep me alive and keep me able to revive and just get away from targets that much quicker before I'm able to get blasted and pushed into a wall and get killed by their burn damage. So little small situations like that can also come in handy when using Transversives. And also, again, when we kill those 2 champs, I'm going to head off to the next area and start slaying before they can even get there, and it does stack with a lightweight weapon, so you can go extremely fast with this exotic. Now back to that short hop fusion talk that I was just talking about. When you have Transversives on and you're doing those short hops and pulling the trigger and you have high mobility of 7 and higher, It's not really just when you have transversives on, but pay attention to the ground covered every time that I do those hops, because your mobility is completely affected by that. If you have high mobility, you can hop and cover more ground to maneuver and carve your way around situations, avoid getting shot, get behind cover more. Every time I'm pulling that, if I have low mobility, I'm covering very little ground. But that 7, every time it does it, I register my mobility value, and then even hops like that I just jumped up that little ledge. Had I been at 5 or 6, I could have clipped that or had to mantle it and got shot in the back, or anything like that can happen. But this is one of the main reasons that I use mobility, and it's for the covering ground while you're shooting, because if you don't have high mobility, you can't do that. And normally when you use a fusion rifle and you start to shoot it, it's normally when you're crossing across a map. And you can cross across that map much quicker and traverse more ground by having the higher mobility. Now pay attention to this jump and turnaround. By having higher mobility, you can be closer to higher objects and get on top of them with less risk of clipping that object. I'm going to show you this a couple times because this is something that is minor but really overlooked when it comes to mobility values and running gun and just getting away from targets. That little hop right there, I'm barely clearing it at 7 mobility. But the closer that I am to a higher object or a higher piece of ground, the more or less chance I have to get clipped on that, to where I have to mantle it or just get hung up on it pretty much. It's more of a fluent gameplay. You cover and traverse that ground much quicker, and when you have the speed of transversive steps and the reload property, it's just ultimate run and gun build for really any subclass that you want to use it with, but it really does shine with bottom tree using Devour. So screenshot that if you want to put that together based on all the stats and everything you need to run and gun with transversive steps. For the next build we're going to be going over, it's going to be KARNSTEIN ARMLETS, which basically means when you get a melee kill, you get a huge chunk of your health back, and also you get recover properties where it keeps recovering your health for around 8 seconds after you get that melee kill. Now I'm going to do this in a Lost Sector environment, so you'll have to kind of scale this to a Master Nightfall where you're not going to melee kill that many enemies, but there is a spot where this might come in handy, especially when you combine it with Protective Light, which is what I'm going to show you here. This is without the Protective Light. This is just basically what this exotic will do. You see how I'm still getting health recovered when I do melee kills? It lasts for 8 seconds every time I get a melee kill on somebody. Now let's go to a different situation where I'm going to get my Charge of Light by getting 2 fusion rifle kills, and then this time I'm going to get the Protective Light to stack on top of the Vampire Caress, so I'm going to get hella resilience on top of getting the health property coming back over and over again, which is almost unkillable in some situations. So I'm not saying you're going to use this exotic all the time in a master tier activity, but there are going to be situations like if you get in a punching match with ads, then for 8 seconds after you kill that ad after the punching match, especially if you have Devour on, you're going to get your health back, and you're going to continuously recharge your health and have a ton of resilience after they busted your shield with that on. So that's just really what I'm getting at. Really short little tip there with the KARNSTEIN ARMLETS. So put that together using the Dawn Armor mods, and you'll see that this thing's actually a really powerful exotic. I wanted to kind of change up the gameplay and not stay so focused in that one area since we're going to be there majority of this video. But don't sleep on this exotic because it's actually not that bad, but it's very situational when it'll come in handy. But there are going to be situations where it can be highly used, especially if you're in an area with a ton of red bar ads. Moving on to the next exotic, which is also one of my favorite in the game, and that is going to be the OPHIDIAN Aspects. All about that reload speed, and it does come in handy even though we're going to be probably using a Demolitionist Fusion Rifle or Telesto or whatever. This is my 1.0 version. It had Fusion Rifle Scavenger and Enhanced Rocket Loader or Enhanced Hand Cannon Loader on top of the reload. So I'm going to get my Charge of Light, and this clip is kind of funny to me because this is actually a speed kill challenge. And these 2 teammates, I guess they thought that I was skipping all the ads. But what I'm doing is what I always do. This is a strategy that I use, is I crush all the ads and then do the champions afterwards. And you can see this mobility value. This is 7+ traction with this build. And you can see every time I pull the fusion charge and do that short burst of ground cover, that's just that much ground cover to keep circling around all those ads. Special finish to get ammo because Famine's on, which is another reason that I have to have special finisher. And then you can see the dude leave right here because he thought that I was like skipping all the ads. It's like, dude, I'm like crushing all these ads. What do you mean? And then I even go and take out the back champion before both of those other players could even take out the front champion. And it just goes to show you how there's just like no strategy in the community, because this isn't actually the first team that left when I did this. I guess they think that I'm not slaying all the ads or something, but what I'm doing is what I always do, the same strategy, because it's the best strategy. And I figured they could at least take out that front champion because they both had Izanagi's on. But I'm still having to come over here and take out both these champions and all the ads to clear that room. And then the second guy, he starts firing over there where the other champion that I just killed was, and I guess he thought I was running past it, and he left also. So it just goes to show you, man, like, people just don't understand strategy, and then when you start slaying around everything, they don't understand what's going on because they're used to just like, you know, oh, Izanagi target first, then this target. It's like, no, dude, the whole room is getting slayed out on here. But that just goes back to, again, why I don't use metas and why I don't need the metas. So here's another situation of this, that punching match, and then protective light kicking in, give me that armor to jump across. The Ophidian aspect, I don't really need to reload that much, just at the champions is where it's going to come in handy. But again, crushing through this, that mobility value, poking out and getting those fusion rifle kills, grenades out the yin yang, and then taking all these ads out. And again, why I use a 700 to 740 charge fusion rifle is because I don't have time to charge a slow fusion when I'm crushing this much and that close to ads. They can down me way too quick, and then special finish to keep getting that special ammo because famine being on, and then that hella reload speed from the Ophidian aspect. I'm about to knock 3 rockets out with that BRAYTECH OSPREY, which I highly recommend farming out. One of the best void non-exotic rocket launchers you can have, and extremely high handling, actually the second highest handling rocket that's in the game right now. But that's the Ophidian aspect build if you want to put that together. It's 8 mobility, 7 recovery, tier 7 grenade, with all those Dawn mods on it and everything you need to make this thing ultimate run and gun. And don't forget that all these builds today, you can use a sword with them as well, and a sword with a Devour is pretty insane. Even though I didn't include gameplay with it, I'm waiting to see how they're going to function after the update. Now for the next build, Nezarec Sin, all built around Void. I'm using my 1.0, however, if you have a 2.0, it's going to be just as good, or if you have a 1.0 with enhanced Ashes to Assets, it would be completely ridiculous. PlayStation cuts off 2 seconds of my gameplay there, but I threw another grenade and then killed 2 ads and immediately had my grenade back. I technically don't have to use Demolitionist with the Nezarec Sin because the Telesto mixed with Devour, mixed with Firepower, actually gives me the same recharge rate as if I was to have Demolitionist on, but I can use weapons like Telesto with it. This is actually the only build today that doesn't have a universal subclass because Nezarec Sin's all tied to Void, but the amount of grenades you get and super ability energy with this to use special finisher is really what I like about it, because with the bottom tree Devour, I don't use my super that much. I usually just use my super energy to use special finisher to always give me plenty of special ammo, especially when there's modifiers such as famine on, which there is in this ordeal that you're seeing gameplay of. So I hardly have any ammo aside from the fact that I do have special finisher on, and I get so much super energy because of Nezarec Sin. I always am in situations to where I can do the special finisher. And earlier I was talking about using special finisher with a 700 or a 740 charge time, and you're seeing that right here. It takes down just enough health on a lot of these ads to where they're just weak enough to use special finisher on. So as I'm making my way towards the ad and shooting them, they're staggered and they're in a weakened state, and then I can just finish them off with a special finisher and get plenty of special ammo. And that is a tactic in itself in speed killing and making sure that you stay stacked with ammo the entire time. Don't sleep on how important that tip is that I just gave you and why the 700 and 740 fusion rifles are that good, because if I was using an 860 charge or even an 800 or a 780, it would actually kill the ad. But the fact that it doesn't kill them and leaves them a little bit room for that special finisher is a tactic in itself, a really important tactic, and one of the main reasons that I do like 700 and 740 fusion rifles. I left the remainder of this gameplay in because I wanted to show you how often I get my grenade back to keep proccing the Devour every time my health gets low, such as that situation right here. And then right here, I'm met with all those volley rockets that hit me, and I'm stuck in the goo. I'm about to die again, so I'm about to drop my Rift in a critical location right here because I know that I'm about to get blasted at from all different angles. I'm going to use my BRAYTECH OSPREY, that high handling, pulling off that shot quick. Icarus grip on the fusion rifle, doing those short hops, get back inside of here, hit the Devour again, and I'm going to put that Icarus grip to use again right there, shoot it over the top of that little bit of mobility to be able to shoot over little humps of terrain like that, and then I have my grenade back again to then proc another Devour. Now I'm going to proc special finisher on this ad, then meet him halfway to finish him off. Go up here, help a little dude out, get this dude in a weakened state to special finish again. Have a ton of red bar ads out, 740 charge time all over those dudes, sweep shot, grenade back again, and grenades all day with this build because Nezarec Sin with the Devour, with the 2x firepower, with the protective light, and with all the other perks is a really insane combo. This is actually one of my favorite builds that you're going to be seeing today, but only when it's a void week, such as the Insight Terminus like it was last week. But when it comes to the boss fight, with really any of these builds you see today, with all the properties and the Dawn mods and everything, you can pretty much just stay in this back area where all the adds pour out and be at 0 risk because of Devour, and if you do get your shield busted, you have Protective Light, and then you can just get charged with Light again by killing adds with fusion rifles to get more grenades and get another charge with Light, or to proc more Devour, or just whatever you need. There's always a property that you have with this, whether it be recharge ability or some kind of survival property, and here's that jolt shot whenever I land. You always aim at the target without adjusting the joystick, and the jolt shot will be there. And then I have the Icarus grip to make sure all those raids are staying perfectly put. More adds are about to proc out again. And this is how I'm able to hit 400 to 500 kills with this strike, or really just any kind of strike. I can always hit max amount of numbers because my builds allow me to play this up close and aggressive, and I'm at very little risk of dying. And then watch this Devour situation right here where I'm about to get charged by these adds. Devour procs every time I do this, and I know that it's going to, so I'm going to go ahead and proc my special finisher to get health back and to get more ammo, and this is a tactic you can use all the time when you have Devour going. Just get them in a weakened state, and if you know you're about to get attacked, just go ahead and proc the special finisher. But if Famine is on, make sure that you always switch to your primary weapon when you proc special finisher, because a lot of the time you'll get double drops. You'll get one special brick because you had your primary gun out, and then another one from the special finisher. If you watch my Doomfang build with the Titan, the banger build, then always use this strategy because it works the same. Always hang in this back area and let your other 2 teammates worry about the boss while you keep everybody safe by killing every ad that pours out of all these gates, because again, you have Devour going, and then again, you also have the Protective Light, and you're going to have a ton of grenades if you're using a demo weapon or if you're using Telesto with the Nezarec Sin, and use your super if you want to, but you really don't have to use it that much. But when it comes to this build, this is how you put together that Nez Sin. If you're going to use a 2.0 helmet, that's completely fine, or if you have a 1.0 helmet that has good perks on it like I'm using right here, either way, you can either have Finders or you can have a super recharge perk to help you get super energy back that much more to get more special finisher going. But those are the stats and all the mods and perks you need to really make that one wreck. Now for this next build, I didn't include gameplay with it because it actually plays exactly like the Nezarec Sin, except you don't need any void weapons. So if you're in a situation or a Nightfall where you can't use void weapons, Verity Brow will actually give you the same recharge rates with all these mods on as the Nezarec Sin will do. So either one of those are really going to be an equal player depending on what the Nightfall is. But the cool thing about Nezarec Sin is it's going to give you super energy and all that stuff on top of the grenade stuff, when Verity Brow is just going to be focused on your grenade ability. But that's how you put it together. If you haven't farmed out the BRAYTECH OSPREY, this is one of the nastiest rockets, and I'm going to show you a little bit of gameplay with it and just how much it crushes on this Nightfall as well. However, if you're using an Epicurean with Demolitionist, Truth might be a better option, but if you're using Telesto, BRAYTECH OSPREY all day. You can't beat the handling of BRAYTECH, the pull speed, everything about it. It's just completely on point. It destroys when it comes to running gun ad clear. The high handling is going to allow you to sway it around much easier than as if you have a low handling rocket, so your reload and pull speed with that quick launch, it's going to be that much quicker and that much on point, such as shots right there where I can just jump up with that little bit of mobility mixed in with the BRAYTECH OSPREY to fit in those long range, precise, pinpointed shots that you need to land. And here's another benefit of mobility that I've always tried to explain to people, is these situations where you jump and you have a wall that's in front of you, and being able to go off the ground that much higher to still shoot it before you hit the top of that wall. Those situations happen so much in gameplay, whether I'm playing Gambit or anything, those situations always happen. There's just a million things that mobility will do for you. Also farm out that Telesto Catalyst by doing the Eater of Worlds, it's highly worth it. And again, with the mobility and covering that much ground every time you pull the trigger or anytime you hop around and aim your weapon, that mobility value is going to be kicking in and get you around that map and destroying adds that much quicker with all those properties that you have going on to give you all those abilities to keep you slaying and keep you going at the most fastest pace you can be in running gun combat. But other than that, Guardian, I really just wanted to get all those builds out that are going to prep you, hopefully, for the Grandmaster difficulty. I can't explain how I'm slaying so quick whenever I do team challenges and just, go in these running gun sprees that I do. I just wish I could, take the knowledge that I think about, a million miles a second every time I'm doing anything in this game and just kind of, throw it out there for everybody to understand it. But I know that not everybody will. It takes a lot of experience, a lot of data collecting, and just a lot of insight from doing things over and over again. Every movement you make has got to be for some kind of a reason, same as chess. It's no different than that. And then again, if you're next to a boss, you can do a special finisher or any finisher to negate the blast the boss will do and take no damage from it. And another situation right here where I'm just hopping around and shooting this Telesto, covering all that ground. I'm about to get blown in the air by the boss, and then when I land, the boss is going to be right next to me, so I turn and do that boss melee counter punch to where it doesn't blow me off the map, and I can negate just that much more of a pinch of damage before I die. But that is the end of the video, Guardian. If you stayed all the way through, let me know in the comments below. Hopefully you took something away from this today. All these builds are sick. It actually started out with a transversive build using Devour, and then I was like, dude, these Dawn mods really go with so many other builds. So then I started experimenting with them with a lot of different LFG fire teams and doing speed kill challenges to really put them to the test and see how fast they were, what limitations they had, and all these builds crushed. They all have their own specific place. It's all kind of the same build, minus a few, minor things, and then the exotic is what's making them play a little bit differently, so they all have something going for them. And like I said, 4 out of 5 are neutral subclass, so if you have to use them with a different subclass, you can definitely do that as well. However, the Devour is really just kind of slept on. I didn't really like it that much in the past, but after experimenting with it, I'm still a top tree fan for overall damage, but I'm not going to ignore the recharge rates and that recovery aspect that all this stuff, when you put it with the Dawn mods especially, will all offer for you. So hit that subscribe button, Guardian, if you want to see more content. You can also join the B Squad if you want to as well and help support this channel. But again, my name is Ristopoulos. I hope you found this entertaining and somewhat informative. But I will see you all on the next video next time.
In space.